What's good, peeps? Thanks as always for passing by the channel. Much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. All right, so Lomachenko gets the decision over Luke Campbell. He now adds the WBC belt to his WBA, WBO, and Ring Magazine belts. He's obviously now one belt away from the clean sweep. He'll await the winner of Richard Comey versus Teofimo Lopez, which has been scheduled for December the 14th at Madison Square Garden. So I wonder when they'll get that undisputed fight in. I'm trying to probably May or June, maybe, unless they want to have an interim fight in between. But we're probably looking May or June. Although I was listening to the ESPN telecast and they were talking about autumn 2020, I think they said. So I definitely think that they're probably going to have another fight in between that for Lomachenko. Maybe just a voluntary. I definitely don't think they're going to have a mandatory, but maybe just a voluntary in between. Nonetheless, Lomachenko is now the new WBC champion, as I said, adding to his WBA, WBO, and Ring Magazine belts. One way or one paragraph in which to describe that fight is that I thought Luke Campbell was excellent. Excellent. Great performance from Luke Campbell. I gave Luke Campbell 2, maybe 3 rounds. I think I gave him round 1, which is obviously a feel-out round, close, but he landed a left hand at the end, so I gave him the round. I gave him round 7, I think, when he definitely caught Loma and stunned Loma, even though Loma came back straight away and landed, I don't know, a couple of big combinations, but I thought Luke edged that round. And I'm trying to think what other round I gave him, but I definitely gave him those 2. So I thought Luke Campbell was excellent, and I gave him 2 rounds, although close rounds, I gave him that. I thought Loma was not as good as I've seen Loma, right? Slightly off a little bit, which is credit to Luke Campbell, and I gave him 9 or 10 rounds, right? Again, Luke was excellent, could only find 2, maybe 3. Loma slightly off, 10 or 9 with a knockdown. That's how good Loma is for me. And I'm not taking anything away from Luke Campbell. Again, I mean, I was tweeting this during the fight. Luke Campbell looked excellent, right? Looked big, looked strong. That left hand worked well. It just looked good, did Luke Campbell. Very good. As expected, again, we're talking about an Olympic gold medalist here. Someone that I think soaked up the pressure and used it. The crowd got behind him as well, which was a question going in. Would they maybe not cheer for Loma, but would they get behind Luke? They definitely got behind him. So I thought it was a good performance from Luke. But putting it into perspective, I thought Loma was slightly off his very high, lofty standards. And I think I gave him 9 rounds plus a knockdown. And Luke was way beyond how good I thought it was going to be. And I gave him 2 or 3. What Loma's suffering from is greatness. He's suffering from the fact that he is so great. And it's clear, I went on Twitter immediately after the fight and just seeing what people were saying about the fight and his performance. And it's clear that he is now one of those athletes that suffer from being so great. And what I mean by that is a good example is Usain Bolt. I don't know where I get these examples from. But Usain Bolt, when he broke the world 100 meter record, 9.58, after that event, Usain Bolt would run 9.8 and 9.7, and people were like, oh. He was running times that other people would take in a heartbeat. 9.7s, 9.8s, and people were like, well, yeah, it's not 9.58, is it? Suffering from greatness. Because 9.7 is fucking ridiculous. 9.8 is ridiculous. But because it wasn't a 9.58, it's like, oh. Same as Ronaldo and Messi. Ronaldo and Messi, for the best part of 12 years, have done things like 50 goals a season. It's just ridiculousness. 50 goals a season. They hit 35 or even 40. It's like, oh, well, yeah, but it's not 50, 60, is it? They don't score hat tricks. It's like, well, yeah, it was a good game, but it wasn't, it's not their high, lofty standards. That's because they're suffering from greatness. Loma wasn't great yesterday. It wasn't the best Loma I've ever seen. But by God, it was still a bloody good Loma. But again, because we've seen him do things in the ring which we just can't explain, because it's just a routine 7 out of 10 performance, people look at it like, Loma's lost a bit. He's not as good as he was. I'll beat him. You know how many boxers were set? Like Devin Haney tweeted, I'll beat Loma. You know how many boxers were tweeting, I'll beat him, put me in the ring with Loma, just because they saw a 7 out of 10 performance from a guy where they normally see an 11 out of 10 performance. Luke Campbell was good. Let's give Luke Campbell some credit. Luke Campbell asked questions. He asked questions, and because he done something that you're supposed to do, I think, to every good fighter, land something early to keep them good, keep them thinking. And he landed that left hand in the last 10 seconds, and that made Loma question whether or not I want to come in. Loma was actually scared at points to come in to range. And obviously he's got to come in because Luke Campbell's using his distance very, very well. If you ever want to ask a fighter to use their reach, Luke Campbell was doing it. He was even making it longer just because of his stance. And Loma just simply was a bit nervous and couldn't know how to come in. Just because Luke Campbell is a very, very good boxer. His amateur record tells me that. And I think Loma struggled at times to know how to come in. I mean, I tweeted, I think around 4 or 5, that Loma's going to go into his tool bag very soon, and he did. And in round 5, I think, is when he hurt Luke Campbell. And Luke Campbell's lucky there wasn't another 30 seconds left. But well done to Luke Campbell for making the adjustments to come out and then go the distance. But I thought it was a good performance. It was a good performance from an away fighter against a very tall, big, and tricky opponent. Luke Campbell, again, great performance, but let's put it into perspective. He won 2 or 3 rounds. He was knocked down. He was hurt on at least 4 or 5 occasions to the body and head. Loma was probably hurt in that fight. Not very visibly hurt, but I could see he was hurt maybe once or twice. And I think that was why we saw a more cautious Loma. It wasn't the Loma that kind of went for it through the gears against Pedraza or even Linares. He was clearly stunned by Luke Campbell's power, which I think he knew Luke Campbell had the power, but maybe not that much power. But I still thought it was a good performance. I did think that he would get Luke out of there. I thought what did I say in my prediction? I think I said something like 8 or 9, and I thought that was coming. I thought it was starting to go up the gears. But again, Luke Campbell showed with that power, that big loop in left hand, and I thought that almost got respect from Loma. And again, Loma was scared to commit. But when he did commit, I thought he looked good. I thought his footwork looked good. I thought his combination punching looked good. He didn't throw as many combinations as I'm used to, as Loma normally does. But again, I give credit to Luke. I don't discredit Loma. I think that's the problem here. I think a lot of people are doing it the opposite way. A lot of people are discrediting Loma rather than chucking that praise on Luke Campbell. And it always happens. That's just how it is, right? I mean, football, for example, is a good example of where that always happens. If Liverpool were to lose to, trying to think of a kind of good mid-table team, a Leicester, rather than give credit to Leicester, there's almost like an inquiry as to why Liverpool lost. Sometimes you've got to give credit to the opposite person. And let's not forget as well, because again, Twitter's going mad here. Loma won. Loma won the fight. I mean, again, competitive rounds, but in the end he won. I can't remember what the scorecards were. Was it like 10 rounds to 2 or 9 rounds to 3? He won. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with Loma's performance. I do think that the weight is a problem. These guys are very big, especially the 3 guys that are next or were next. So Luke Campbell and then the winner of Comey Lopez. Lopez is a big guy. Comey is kind of built in the same way as Luke Campbell. Not as good as a pure boxer as Luke Campbell, but kind of built long, rangy. So these 135 pounders are almost 147s or 140 guys masquerading as 135 pounders. So it's going to be interesting when he has to fight the winner of those 2. I do think he beats them easier than he beat Luke, because they're not, I don't think, as good at boxers as Luke Campbell, and they don't know how to use the advantages that Luke Campbell did. But it will be interesting. He has spoke about going down to 130, which I think makes sense. Obviously, he's chasing that Gervonta Davis fight. I say chasing, he's not chasing, he just wants to shut him up. And I think he will, although Gervonta Davis is a southpaw. We saw Luke Campbell as a southpaw causing some problems and does have stupid power. But I don't think he's not as good as a boxer, I don't think, as Luke Campbell. People might shut that down. I don't think so. As I was watching the fight, though, it's weird. I was thinking, because this is his 3rd weight class, so feather, super feather, lightweight. how the fuck does Manny Pacquiao, or did Manny Pacquiao, go through 8 weight classes? Like, they're talking about Loma now struggling because the guys are getting too big. Pac-Man went through 8. 8, lineal 5. So it's not lineal 5. So it wasn't fighting bums, it was fighting the man, the man, the man. Lineal 5. Even Mayweather went through 5. I mean, Pac-Man is built kind of the same frame as Loma as well. I'd say he's a bit wider now because he's been at the 147 for a long time. But how did Pac-Man do that? But again, look, I think it was a good performance. What do you guys think of Loma's performance? What do you think of Luke's performance? What now for Luke? What makes sense but is far too risky is that he fights the winner of Devin Haney versus Abdulayev. That would be good. But he's definitely there. He definitely belongs. If every thought he belonged, I think he knows he does now. It's just a case of what goes on now because he will win a world title, Luke Campbell. And I think he wins when Loma beats Teofimo Lopez Comey winner and then vacates. And then obviously the belts go everywhere and Luke will probably fight for a vacant belt. It's a shame though that in these 2 world title fights, he fights a very determined Linares and now fights Vasyl Lomachenko. A lot of people have fought worse opponents to win world titles and become world champions. But good performance, good fight, fantastic atmosphere. I mean, there can't be many better atmospheres. I guess the Mexicans will create amazing atmospheres, but that's it, right? It's a straight shootout for me between the Brits and the Mexicans for atmospheres when it comes to fights. Amazing atmosphere again. And yeah, let's hope Loma can get back to the UK again very, very soon. Peace.